So I'm learning something about myself, Steve, which I never thought would be true. Not in a million years. Well, first of all, I never thought I'd do any kind of entrepreneurial thing. And then I started a coaching practice, and
Hmm.
suddenly I'm starting a second thing. I don't know if I am bored in my life. I don't think so. Like this idea, I just get excited about these ideas. Like, what actually kicked this one off is business partner. He's a great friend of mine. We used to be roommates years ago. He called me just to commiserate about work, about his day job or something. And he made kind of an offhanded comment like, I just want to build something with people I like.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I was like, how serious are you about that statement? Because I have just the thing. Do you like me? Do you like me enough to build something? Anyway,
Uh-huh.
that's it. It literally just started just like that. It
Okay.
was crazy. So,
I like that approach. That's
yeah,
how this podcast came to be. So
it is actually.
so yeah, just want to build something with people you like. That's great. So was it your idea or his the actual thing?
So the thing is a local email newsletter. So it's very, very simple, very basic business model. Gain email subscribers of people who live in our town, sell ads, summarize what's happening in the town, let people know what's going on in the weekend, the
Hmm.
news, all things like that. That was a terrible elevator pitch, but this is brand new, so I haven't had time to refine that yet. But basically, our everything that's happening in our town delivered to you for free. That's the basic premise. It's not an original idea. I heard about it back in 2017, and I kind of wanted to do it back then. I even bought a domain, but then it didn't go anywhere, and so it's kind of been percolating ever since then. And it just seems like I don't know. I don't know what attracts me to it so much. It's very scalable. It's very outsourceable. A lot of the operations side of things, but
Mm.
mostly I love the idea. It's not the kind of newsletter where you're going to get hundreds of thousands of subscribers and sell ads to AI tools for like thousands of dollars per issue or anything like that. It's not really like $1 million business, I don't think. But I think it does have the potential to have tens of thousands of subscribers based on the size of the city where I live. And,
Right.
you know, maybe six figures or even multiple six figures if we do a really good job. I mean, so like kind of a lifestyle business, I guess. But so that's not necessarily, this isn't like my get rich quick or like retirement plan necessarily, but it's the side benefit of networking with all the business people in the town and getting to know the community better. And
Mm.
that's been super fun, and that's already happening, and it's just a blast. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, that part of it I can relate to because I'm doing some of that here where I live, the networking aspects of it.
Yes,
I am not
I've been
also building a
so
newsletter, but
well. Maybe you should, I don't know. I've been
yeah.
jealous of you because you're always meeting all these cool, like all the guests that we just, or many, if not most, not all, because there were a few that weren't that you didn't meet
That's
through
right. Yeah.
your networking, but like most of them you did. Like you're meeting really awesome people, really competent people, really smart people, and so I guess this is a little bit of my version of that, unintentionally, but it's definitely a cool side benefit.
Very cool. I'm excited for you. Hello there, dear listener. I am Steve.
And I'm Tyler, and welcome to another episode of It's Not About the Money, the podcast where we help you gain the clarity you need to run a successful small business.
Tyler has a financial coaching practice. I run a tax business, and we are both small business owners like you. This podcast is our exploration of entrepreneurship, one episode at a time. And we're back here, just the two of us.
So speaking of all those people we talked to, we we did something. We did it. We interviewed people on our podcast, Steve.
We did. That was a lovely little series. The Many Hats of an Entrepreneur.
Yes, it was. I have to say I wasn't really sure what to expect either on the logistical level of like how to do podcast interviews with other people or like what would come of it or what I would learn, but it turns out I learned a ton.
Mm-hmm. The process of like the actual interviewing is very different from just you and me talking.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot from that. And of course, the actual topics that we discussed were eye-opening and fascinating.
So how would you say it's very different from just the two of us talking? What are some of the differences that you noticed?
Uh, personally, I find it easier to interrupt you or just kind of like jump in than a guest where we're like trying to showcase them. And so I don't want to like just jump in and walk all over what they were saying.
Sure.
Where when it's just you and me talking, like I'm less shy about that, I guess.
As it should be, I suppose.
Uh-huh.
And hopefully less nervous. I don't know. I got nervous actually a little bit, at least at the beginning, because I was like, we interviewed a lot of successful people who are further along in their journeys than we are, which is a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, and it's cool to be in the same space with folks like that, where they're further along and you can kind of have something to look forward to, and they can share their wisdom and experience with you.
Yeah, and everyone was so generous that way, actually.
Yeah.
Like very generous to come on the podcast, very generous to share their stories, their expertise, and they were just like so fun to talk to. It's so easy to talk to.
Uh-huh. And I hope for the listeners it has also been valuable just to kind of cover those broad topics that you may or may not know a lot of detail about. And just from me having met these folks and kind of been exposed to their businesses and the kinds of things that they talk about, the things they do, I've learned a lot from that, and then able to bring them on here and talk specifically about asking them questions for the kinds of folks that are in our audience.
Yeah. And I'm just looking through the list here of all the people that we interviewed, and seriously, I learned a lot from all of them. I mean, we did 9 interviews, and all from different, areas of business. I'm curious for you, Steve, were there any lessons learned from this interview series that impacted you in such a way that you actually changed the way you were doing something with your business, or impacted your strategy somehow, or the way you're thinking about how you approach your business?
I think the biggest one for me was our conversation with Erica Goody, and just the way that she has built her business to be restricted in the number of hours she has to spend on it every week.
Yes.
And it's still bringing in plenty of revenue. Like, I would be overjoyed if I could get to that level of revenue at all, especially if it was only 15 hours a week.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
She's living the dream.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, her business is kind of in the same field that I aspire to be in as well.
Yeah.
Sort of the fractional CFO space, where right now I do tax work and it's a little more technical and hands-on. But advisory, you can scale that a little better, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but the thing that I really got from her is being intentional about setting the boundaries of I'm allowing work to take up this much time in my life, this much space, this much mental energy, and no more. If I want to do something, it's got to fit inside that box. And so I'll find ways to be more efficient, more intentional about what I let in and how I do it, so that the thing can grow in the way that I want it to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also love her story of how it grew so slowly. But that was a good thing for her.
Right. I find that very encouraging as well.
Yeah.
To sort of counteract all of the noise of like, grow now, grow quickly, grow big. It doesn't have to be that way. It can if you want. That's fine too. But that's not really, that wouldn't work for me right now. And I don't think that's what I want anyway. I would like to grow slowly, gradually, kind of discover what it is exactly that I want to specialize in, find the right clients. That can take time, and that's fine.
Yeah. And side note, it's a great reason to choose the kind of business if you're someone like us who has a day job that they like and pays the bills and is a great career, but they also have kind of want to scratch this itch of starting something of their own, right?
Yeah.
I think our particular circumstances are pretty fertile soil for that kind of business to grow in, because it can be slow and it should be slow. And then, you kind of just cross bridges as you get to them when it comes to making choices about if you need to change any of that.
Yeah. I was talking to some other folks here locally over coffee a few weeks ago, and I said something like this, that I sort of want the business to grow slowly and intentionally, and they, they have bigger businesses than I do,
Yeah.
and they have employees, and so they're much further along on the journey. But they kind of agreed with that sentiment of like wishing that they had taken like one big thing at a time instead of trying to tackle all of it at once. So that's kind of an advantage of going slowly, is you can like focus on this aspect of the business, get that tuned to where you want it to be, and then move on to the next thing. You don't have to sort of fight all of the fires at once when you're growing quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about you? Was there one that stood out or particularly changed the way you think about running your business?
I think there were a few. The one that comes to mind right now was our conversation with Juliana about marketing and how, what is marketing? Because I, being uneducated on that topic, found myself confusing the term with advertising, like buying ads or SEO or whatever tactic you may do to drive traffic to your website or find clients, get leads, whatever. And she helped me understand that actually there's like a layer on top of all that, which is strategy, right? Who
Yeah.
are your customers? Who are you trying to reach? And then once you understand that and you come to understand over time what your offer actually is and who you are actually trying to serve, then you can develop a multifaceted strategy that may or may not include things like having a podcast, buying Facebook ads, engaging in SEO. Like what you choose to do to generate business for yourself is totally going to depend on what you're trying to accomplish. And for me, that kind of took some of the pressure off, because I've tried a lot of those things. I've tried SEO. We're here doing a podcast. I've dabbled in purchasing ads, which basically led to feeling like I wasted a lot of money with not much to show for it, except for learning, which is valuable, of course. But, what I really wanted was $1 million or whatever. But anyway, that really helped me. And I was very encouraged by her comment that sometimes it takes 2 to 3 years, I think she mentioned, kind of offhand. It could take 2 to 3 years to really find out what you're trying to do as a business. And I think that's fascinating. And that made me feel so much better. Like you can iterate, you throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. It's like testing, right? It's a scientific process. You have a hypothesis, you take some actions, you measure what worked, what didn't work, what variable are you going to change on the next test, and keep going. So anyway, that was very reassuring to me, and it helped me calm down about marketing and finding out, and even like, who's my niche? Who am I trying to serve? What am I trying to do here? I've got time.
Yeah. I had forgotten about that. I liked that part of the conversation as well. Like, it's okay if it takes. Yeah, we're only. Well, I think we're both like 2 years into this experiment.
Almost,
right?
I think you're a little ahead of me.
Okay. So, we still got time.
I will say I've gone back and re-listened to each of these interviews that we did more than once, all of them. Actually, I've got a question for James. The last one that we did about websites, I was listening to it a second time, and he mentioned on Webflow, which is what I use to build my website and host my website, a feature that I've been trying to figure out for like for years, and I don't know how to do it. And he's just like, oh yeah, it was like filtering content in your CMS. Because like in WordPress, that's so easy. You just create a tag, you tag, each item in your CMS with that tag. It's like in WordPress, in Webflow, that's not like built in, and I haven't been able to figure it out. So I need to like write him an email. Something like, hey, when you casually mentioned being able to do this in Webflow, like I couldn't even find it on Reddit. So please. Anyway,
I'm sure he knows how to do it now.
Yeah. I have some ideas about how it can be accomplished, but I'm curious what we did. Anyway, point is, I've listened to these all multiple times and, really tried to apply the best of learnings to what I'm doing with my own business. And I think, so if nothing else, this has been a very valuable exercise for me.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of great nuggets of wisdom in here.
And it's also just so cool. You kind of alluded to this earlier, but just to associate with other people who are doing business, you know? All my life, I've basically been an employee, which is great and I love it. But this is a different feeling and it's kind of
Yeah.
fun. It's like a different kind of associ- association almost. I'm not sure how to describe it, but people with different focuses.
Yeah. And you, what's that old quote? You become like the people that you hang out with.
I
You
don't know.
you turn out like your friends. Something like that. Anyway, like
You're the sum of
the
the 5 people you spend the most time with, or something. Yeah,
yeah,
something.
there. Something
We
like
know the
that.
gist of what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so being able to like kind of expand our uh circle of associates to include business owners has
Yeah.
been really fun and very
Yes,
interesting. They're always fascinating people.
that is true. Yeah.
Just interesting stories and interesting businesses and how they got to where they are, where they want to go. I love it.
So, moving forward, we're taking a break probably from interviewing people, though, I think, right?
Yeah. And so it'll go back to just you and me for a while at
Yeah,
least.
that'll be nice. I've got some serious questions for you. Like,
Okay.
you hinted the other day that you've continued to keep a spreadsheet about McDonald's. I have to know what that is all about. And yeah, very curious about that. Curious to hear more about how's business, what fun projects are you working on at home, around the house, whatever, all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to doing book club episodes and
Yeah.
talking about software that we like,
Oh,
all of these things.
it's been too long since we have sung the praises of our Todoist and our YNAB and our whatever else we use. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.